Welcome back, everyone, to the Naked Wealth Podcast. I had the great opportunity at Emily Frisella's Women in Business this year to participate in a really amazing workout with Lexi Johnson. So I have her on today. She's the CEO and founder of Lexi J Wellness Company, an at-home fitness and wellness business. She worked as a hygienist in 2020 when her gym closed. So, what do you do in a pandemic when you can't go to work? She started recording guided workout videos in her unfinished basement using Facebook Marketplace dumbbells. She was inspired by her father's weight loss of 120 pounds. That's amazing. And seeing his life transform. After a year of operating her business and working full-time as a hygienist, Lexi went full-time with Lexi J Wellness, and she records 6 workouts a week for subscribing members and has done so for the past 4 years. She has a team of 5 and also counsels people on nutrition needs. You can access her workouts in all 50 states, and she actually has participants in all 50 states. I myself participate in her workouts at least 3 to 4 times a week myself, and they are amazing. And she talks a lot about the domino effect and about setting life-changing habits and getting those into motion. So thanks again, Lexi. I really appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
So I know I told you a little bit a minute ago, I was going to ask you to talk to the audience about the domino effect. So something I know you're passionate about, and I believe it kind of links right into this inspiration by your father. But elaborate a little more on your bio and about this concept of the domino effect.
Yeah, so the domino effect is something that if you're a client of mine or if you follow my content, I talk about often. And it's just a concept of, I had actually read it from one of Gary Keller's books. It's called The One Thing. And I was reading it in early 2020. This was at the point when I was a dental hygienist, and that's all I really did. But I've always been into fitness. I've loved exercise. And that was kind of something, just an outlet that I found outside of work. I had kind of grown up in an atmosphere where no one really loved their jobs. I just felt like you could find fulfillment outside of the 9 to 5, and then you would clock in and clock out of your job that would pay the bills and all those things. So that was kind of something that I had assumed was normal, that I would find fulfillment outside of being a dental hygienist, which it was a great job, but just not something that lit me on fire or anything. But I had read this book by Gary Keller, and in the book, he's talked about the domino effect. And the book is called The One Thing, and it's basically just talking about focusing on the task at hand and just focusing on what you can do right now, and the compounding effort over time is going to, lead to something a lot greater. And in the book, he kind of draws this graphic where it says, if you knocked over a 2-inch domino, it would have enough momentum to knock over a 4-inch domino, and then an 8-inch domino, and it would just continue on that path and continue building momentum to eventually knock over a domino the size of your house or something like that. I'm from a really, really small town, 400 people. I graduated with 20 kids. So there weren't people coming out of my high school and out of my town doing things that I had dreamt about, or making lifestyle changes, making an impact greater than, those small town things that you see. So in reading that, it kind of gave me the belief in myself that a girl from a town of 400 could make a change, could impact people's lives. And at the same time that I was reading, a little backstory, because she had mentioned my dad all throughout my childhood into my mid-20s was really, really overweight. And he had a lot of health concerns. He had 4 heart attacks. And, that alone is it's crazy to think about, because 1 heart attack is really scary. He had his first one when he was in his 30s still. And not everyone survives a heart attack. Not everyone survives 2 heart attacks, 3 heart attacks. And that's I was like, eventually his lifestyle is going to kill him. I said it was kind of suicide by lifestyle. It wasn't something that happened, instantly, but his day-to-day choices were leading to his demise. And it was only a matter of time till the other shoe dropped, that eventually something was going to happen and he was not going to survive it. So that had been a conversation that we'd had. And I wasn't super confident in talking to him. I didn't have the experience talking to clients or anything like that about weight loss and making changes. So anytime I would present that that idea to him, you have to change, I would get really worked up. Obviously, I'm emotional towards my dad, and I just could not get my point across. I couldn't get what I wanted out. So I was in college, and I was like, I'm going to actually just write him a letter. I'm going to leave it for him, and then I'm going to go back to school. I'll be able to say everything that I want to say in this letter, and then he'll at least know how I feel, how it's impacting me and our family. And in this letter, I said, we just love you so much. We want you to make a change. And I said, I want you to walk me down the aisle. I want you to see my kids. I think that it's unfair that you have 5 grandkids and you're not making a change to allow yourself to be in the lives of my children one day. And I want to see another World Series. And you see this person that you grew up with, and most of us look at our dads or that father figure as just the toughest person you know. So to see him in a hospital bed time and time again and being helpless, it's a horrible feeling. And it really is something where as a child, you feel helpless at their side. So I had got everything that I wanted out in that letter. I left it for him, and I just went back to school. And he called me and we had that conversation, and it was tough. And it definitely didn't happen like a light switch, because you see this phenomenal transformation, the happy story now, but it takes a long time for a lifestyle change, and it takes a long time to commit. But we had that conversation, and eventually it kind of rooted back to the fact that he was just scared. And I think that's a lot of it. Whether it's fitness or business or personal or professional, whatever, just making a really big change is scary, because it's oddly, our brain convinces us that it's not nearly as scary if you just don't try. But if you try and people see that you fail, it's embarrassing. And I think that's what he was afraid of, is just making the attempt and then not delivering, not executing, and then feeling like he let us down. But happy ending, because he gave me that letter back when he lost 100 pounds. He ended up losing 120. And all of this happened around that same time that I was reading the book. And I had seen his life completely changed. He got a promotion at work. His relationship with my mom just started to thrive. They were empty nesters for the first time, and they're just best friends. They get to do so much fun things together, and it's cool to see their relationship evolve. He's playing basketball in the driveway with my nieces and nephews, and I got a front row seat to that domino effect, that he made this decision, and it was a million tiny decisions, but really it's just lumping it together. It was that lifestyle change. And it didn't stop with him. It impacted me, because I got a better dad out of it. My mom got a better husband out of it. He's a fireman. He got a promotion. And now everyone at the fire station gets a better captain. My nieces and nephews have an active grandparent in their life that they can't even remember a time when grandpa wasn't playing with them. And he doesn't sit on the sidelines in their lives. And I think that is just so incredible. So reading that domino effect, it really made it feel manageable, that if I just helped one person, that it wouldn't just be that one person. It would be their spouse and their kids and everyone that came in contact with them that got a better end of the deal. And it just made it feel a lot more manageable, that a girl from a town of 400 could make a difference in somebody's lives and change the world.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And even just that at college age, I mean, give yourself some credit, because to even have your brain go to that place where you were bold enough and courageous enough to, because I think sometimes in our lives, you're in a position of followership and your parents usually in leadership, and you really stepped up in leadership in that moment and were the catalyst, and really to express your true thoughts about it. That's an incredible story. And I love how it's poured over to everything you do every day.
It's been so special. I lived in a neighborhood. I recently moved, but a neighborhood that I lived in, I was going for a walk and I saw a dad and like a young girl. She was probably in elementary school, and she was riding her bike and he was like jogging next to her. And you could tell that wasn't necessarily his idea, probably. Like, he didn't look like a super active guy. And I just thought about it for the rest of my walk. And I was like, okay, if I get around the block one more time, I'm just going to stop and tell him like a little bit about that story and just how impactful that is, that like, he should keep going. And maybe she doesn't realize it yet, but him being there is really, really impactful. So I knocked on this stranger's door because they had gone inside, and I burst into tears on their porch just to tell them the story. I'm like, this is my relationship with my dad, the change he made. And as an adult woman, just seeing that was so impactful for me. So just keep going, please. And I thought that was so cool. So yeah, I am always very eager to share that, just because it does matter, just showing up and doing those little things, like the day-to-day seemingly insignificant actions really do add up for like the catalyst for a lifestyle change.
And that's the case I think I have a lot of women in business I interview, and I have a lot of women who want to start businesses, and they are really full of self-doubt, or start a workout or anything. And it's really that passion, and your authenticity is extremely transparent. And that's, I think, whatever you're doing, if you're authentic about it and genuine and really have that concern for others, whether it be your business or your family, so you can be well, that's going to go a long way. So.
Absolutely. And I think just especially nowadays with social media, and there's so much that is photoshopped and edited and superficial. And so I do think that anyone that's listening to this, women or men or anybody that's wanting to get out there, the authenticity piece is invaluable. Just showing up authentically you, because one of my favorite quotes by Ed Milet, or he references it often, I'm not sure if it's actually his, but he says you're in the best position to change the life of who you used to be, or to impact the person that you used to be. So if you're a mom of 3 and you're scared to start working out, or you're scared to, make that change or whatever, you have to know that there is a mom of 2 that is getting ready to have their 3rd baby, and they're looking to you, that you're like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. Or someone that has lost 100 pounds and you're still on that weight loss journey, or you're really actively working towards it and you feel like you're not there yet. There's someone that's just a little bit further down the road than you that is looking to you as the example. Because we think about someone with rock hard abs and 1 million followers and the blue check mark to be the end all be all, and you have to be there to make an impact. But really it's the everyday person that you relate to most that, is showing up authentically, and that realistic expectation of what, real life change could look like.
Absolutely. And on that real life change, realistic piece, your workouts are digestible, doable. They're, you're not committing to getting in the car, driving 20 minutes, going to a gym where you're very, maybe have that fear of walking in and being judged, or even like having to lift X amount of weight. I mean, I remember I was going to a gym and I was lifting more than I should have. And I was actually squatting and I actually fell. My knees gave out and the whole on me just because of that pressure piece. And one of the things I really find impactful that you talk about a lot in your workouts is that it's not really big action, it's consistent small action. So can you talk a little bit about the format of your workouts and how you structure them, and just that real life nature of them?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I started them as a kind of a COVID project. I really thought that it was something that would not last beyond COVID when life returned to normal. I'm so grateful that it didn't, that people adapted to this. But I was working out in a gym that shut down and just never opened back up. So like everyone else in the world, we're working from home, or I was working in my dental office, but most everyone's working from home. You're schooling your kids from home at this point. This was in the heat of the pandemic when nothing was open. So I wanted to continue working out just for my mental health, just to, continue getting movement in. And that was such a big piece for it, that there were so many unknowns at that time, that I think having a little outlet to ourselves. And that was the overarching thing, is that I was not the only person experiencing that. Everyone needed just some reprieve. They needed some normalcy and just some time to themselves. I was working, like the majority of the people that I work with they're women and they're mothers, and they are wearing so many different hats that they need to be able to pour it into themselves. We always talk about putting your oxygen mask on first. Like the average woman, and I'm speaking women because that's about 99% of the people I work with, but this also applies to men. But you wear so many different hats and you have so many different expectations of you, but you're not doing anyone any favors operating on low battery. So I was kind of structuring these workouts thinking, okay, well, not everybody has a ton of equipment. I don't even have a ton of equipment here. How is it that we can all get a really good workout, whether you're on day 1 or you're on day 1,000? So for that reason, we go for time rather than for reps, because I initially started Lexi J Wellness. I'm thinking, okay, how would it be possible for me to get a really good workout, but also my great aunt that wants to do these workouts? How could she get a great workout that she's not super fit yet? So regardless of your fitness journey, whether you are pregnant, postpartum, whether we have women in their 60s, all the way down to, I think our youngest is 19, how can we all get an effective workout? So I landed on, I'm going to leave the ball in their court. We're going to move for the same amount of time. We're going to rest for the same amount of time. But as far as intensity goes, as far as the weight you use, modifications are going to be there, that what you do in that time is completely up to you. And I also love that because, 100% is going to look very different from day to day, from week to week. And it isn't telling you, okay, put this amount of weight on a bar and give me 10 reps. And it's not also saying that you and I have to finish 10 reps in the same amount of time, because it's just not realistic for that, or realistic exercise is not a one size fits all, but it can be tailored. And I just filming these full length workouts, I want it to feel like you've got a date with your friend and we're just getting a workout in together. And, whether she's using dumbbells twice as big as yours or going a lot faster than you or vice versa, it really doesn't matter. Movement is movement. And wherever you are in the journey, you can hop in, you can get an effective workout in less than 30 minutes and be back on your day and be able to deliver everything that you need to the people that need you.
Yeah. And on that aspect of feeling like you're working out with your girlfriend, it's like a girlfriend who's like giving you all a great podcast all at the same time. I always appreciate that you keep it rolling. So I'm like, I don't know what she's going to say next. So even if you're like tired of lunging, talking really keeps you engaged. So I love that.
I always say that it's kind of a unique experience that for the past 4.5 years, I've been just recording like a digital diary because I hop in and I am alone in my basement more often than not, but I treat it as if I'm meeting up with Jennifer to get a workout in, and I'll tell her about my day. I'll tell her what I've got going on, how I'm feeling. And I think born out of COVID, when people were only interacting with the people in their homes and you didn't have any social life, that it was fun to be able to feel like you were meeting up with a friend. And that's what I've carried on throughout, because I think that fitness is so serious and intimidating sometimes, but I think it should be fun. It should be something that is a staple throughout your life, no matter what season of life you're in. So yes, there are times where we can take it super seriously, but also it's not about what you do, occasionally, it's about what you do consistently. So I don't think that it ever needs to be super extreme or rigid. I think that if you show up consistently, then you can't lose.
Oh, 100%. That's the case with everything. I work with my clients on that. I have some clients who come in who are pretty affluent, but others that like, well, full of self-doubt. I can't start an account. I don't have enough. No, you can. Do you have $25?
Oh yeah. I'm sure in your business, especially, there are just so many hesitancies and thinking that you have to meet a certain amount or be at a certain position before you get started. But it's like, no, you start right here. Because think about 6 months down the road, a year down the road, where you could be if you just get started now.
And it's that whole domino effect again, in terms of if you're doing these things, right? Whether you're working out, eating right, being a good steward of your money, etc., those all have such a domino effect, and not just on the thing at present. I mean, you started with your father and your workouts and your basement, and now you have clients in 50 states. It's enormous. Plus, you've been able to leverage your impact through philanthropy. You just ran a fantastic event recently. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm super, super proud of this. So on September 11th, we did a 9/11 memorial stair climb at Arrowhead Stadium. So I'm in Kansas City. That's where the Kansas City Chiefs play. And my dad and my brother, I mentioned my dad's a firefighter. My brother is also a Kansas City firefighter. So that was something that I just grew up in a fire family. And sometimes, you don't recognize the gravity of the situation because it's like, oh, it's your dad, it's your brother. But that's a very serious job. There's a lot of risk assumed every day when they go to work that, scary things can happen. And it's a dangerous job that they're risking their lives to help other people and to keep the community safe. So that was something that I had the awareness of growing up. But I realized just in talking to friends and things, it's not always something that we think about in the forefront of our minds until something horrific happens. So the last couple of years, I had participated in just little pop-up 9/11 memorial stair climbs. And the whole premise is that you climb, like we'll go to a local high school or something, and you'll climb the equivalent of 110 stories, which is the height of the World Trade Center. So I thought that was just a really neat intersection between my world and their world. And I had that on my vision board that I was like, it would be incredible to do it at Arrowhead Stadium. And by a lot of luck and just shooting my shot really with Arrowhead, we were able to do it. So on 9/11, we all gathered for this stair climb. We were able to raise money. So the ticket proceeds and all the donations from this event went to a local organization, and it's really, really special. It's called the Surviving Spouse and Family Endowment. It's local to Kansas City. And basically, if a first responder, so not just firefighters, but police, EMTs, paramedics, if anyone dies in the line of duty, this organization is at their family's house within 48 hours with a check for $40,000 just to take care of funeral expenses and time off work, bills, things that a grieving family does not need to concern themselves with in that time. And so all of the proceeds for this event went towards SAFE. We were able to raise $22,000 and had over 500 people present. And we did that within 4 weeks. So my hope is to make it an annual event. I'll be able to plan a lot more and hopefully make it a lot larger in the coming years. But it was so special. I think that we had talked recently just about like what the highlight of our year so far was. And the stair climb was definitely the highlight of the year. Just we love doing these events with the community and stuff, but to be able to make an impact like that and in horrific timing, but honestly, it was so surreal. 4 days after the event, a Kansas City firefighter died in the line of duty. So that money was put to use. And it's never something that you want those funds to be used, but they have to be there in order for it to continue and to be able to deliver on that promise. So it was just really special and something that we're going to hopefully be able to do in coming years as well.
That's incredible. Along the way, I mean, whether it be early on, like, okay, well, I look silly on my video, I don't want to post it, or, oh, I can't believe I said that, I have to start over, or I don't even know how to do a fundraiser, and where do I custody the funds, and all the different, or who do I talk to? I mean, you could have stopped on all there. I mean, I can think of probably a million places that you could have just been like, no, it's just too much. I can't do it. I have too much self-doubt. What is it that keeps you going when you encounter resistance in your own head?
Oh man, and I do. I think that my default thoughts are typically pessimistic. I try to be optimistic and positive, but I do think like my default thoughts are kind of self-deprecating, pessimistic. So I am a big believer, and if you've done my workouts, you've heard me like, you have to talk to yourself. Otherwise, you'll have a tendency to listen to those thoughts. So you have to continue putting positivity into your brain and positivity out there. So when I do encounter those negative thoughts, I sound like a psycho, but I will talk to myself and I'll think of it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great event. And you have to think about the upside, because when I first got started, you mentioned kind of chickening out or being super critical of the videos that you posted or the way that you said things. And I remember when I first started, I probably had like 3,000 followers on Instagram. So it was pretty modest, but I would post a video and I'd take it down 20 minutes later. And I would look at the video probably more than anyone ever would of myself. And I would just pick apart like, oh my gosh, my mouth moves that way when I talk. And just like the littlest things that you think everyone on the internet is going to pick you apart of, and they really don't think about it at all. But I realized somewhere down the road that like the potential judgment or potential hate that you're going to get is never going to compare to the benefit that you're going to be producing. And that's what I have to remind myself of, is that there are people that are benefiting because I'm putting myself out there. There are people that are benefiting, and there's a daughter like me that's getting a better parent because they're taking care of themselves. So it's okay. You embarrass yourself every now and then on the internet. I always was afraid that there would be some high school group chat that I was getting screenshotted around and getting judged for. But really, I mean, that's going to happen. And those are never going to be the people that I look to for guidance or advice. And you just have to kind of differentiate between the people that you are looking to and the people that are going to be on the sidelines judging. And they're typically never the same people.
No. And I think sometimes in terms of the internet, we can get in our heads too. Well, everyone's going to think I'm just about me if I post things about me. But in reality, if you're not, that's more selfish, because like you said, that impact that's being lost because you're not willing to take imperfect action.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. Like it's almost selfish to keep those gifts to yourself. You were put on this earth for a reason, and I believe that I was put on this earth to make a difference in this way. And by holding back and not putting myself out there, I think that's doing myself a disservice. That's doing so many other people a disservice. And I'm sure that there are people listening to this right now thinking that they're not qualified or they're not the person to do that, but someone is going to make that impact. So why not let it be you?
Exactly. Well, you are making a huge impact, definitely a domino effect. I mean, the little domino of writing a letter to dad to a huge event at Arrowhead Stadium that will hopefully become an annual event. And beyond that, I'm really excited to see where things go for you and your business. And I know you made an impact in my life and you didn't even know it, just really providing me a space to have you slotted into my day at a certain time in the morning. And it's just my 30 minutes. And it's relaxing. It's a way I can fill my cup before heading out to meet with my clients. And I know that I'm doing right. I have 3 daughters myself and a son. And, they're watching and they look and they know and they'll tell their family, oh, my mom's crazy. She's up this early doing this and then she doesn't work out and she does 10,000 steps a day. But at the same time, that there's that they're paying attention and something positive. So I thank you for that. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram. That's my main platform, is just Lexi J Wellness, and then just lexijwellness.com.
Okay. And I ask everybody, what is a book you'd like to recommend to the audience? It can be your favorite or one that popped in your head that you may have even mentioned. It's fine.
So I did mention The One Thing by Gary Keller. I have not read it in years, but that one kind of sparked me. That was the first self-development book I really took to. But we were talking about this before the podcast got rolling. I am obsessed with the book Outlive by Peter Attia. It talks about just actionable steps you can take to improve your health span, not just your lifespan. And he says the modern medicine industry really focuses on keeping you alive as long as possible, but not necessarily making sure that the life you're living has strong quality of life. And he puts actionable steps to, okay, if you want to live independently with your spouse and you want to do simple things like open a jar on your own, and like the things that you really don't think about younger or when it's super simple, but you want to be able to do those on your own in your last decade of life. And he puts very actionable steps you can take right now, things you can prioritize in order to put yourself in the best position possible later on. So it's called Outlive by Peter Attia. He also has a podcast. The podcast can be kind of over my head a little bit. He speaks in terms that are a little bit, it's too sciencey for me, but Outlive is very digestible and it's great. I really recommend it. I finished it and I told my husband, everybody I love needs to read it.
I will definitely read it. And you do talk about that, working out. You're not working out to work out, you're working out for life. And I had just flown in from California and I got off the plane and I had my suitcase and I had an extra bag. I don't know why, but I had an extra bag. And then I also had my dog. And everything was like so heavy and I had all this walking to do between my connection. And I was running through the airport and your voice was running in my head. Like, you work out so you can do this. So you can schlep all this extra stuff and go really fast at the airport and just do life.
The goal is always just for you to be able to do whatever you want to do, whatever you need to do at any point. That's always my overarching goal for our clients, is that you want to be in a position to just live your life without limitations.
100%. And have that health span and play with your grandkids and great grandkids and be able to for that hike. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your enthusiasm and your authenticity and your business with it.
Well, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me.
Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA, SIPC.